Now, this wasn't on my bingo card for a random Wednesday in the middle of June, months before we usually get any announcements about Football Manager, but today we have some huge news, not just about FM24, but also about FM25. All of this news is coming straight from Miles Jacobson, the guy that creates Football Manager, and there are some very, very exciting developments on the horizon. We're going to break it down here, talk about our thoughts on them and what that might mean for Football Manager going forward. So without further ado, let's get into breaking it down and having a look at this news. Now, just to let you know, I will link this article in the description down below should anyone want to read it if you haven't already. But as you can see, this blog is about the future of Football Manager, talking about not only FM23 currently, FM24, but we're actually going further ahead of that and looking at the game after that to learn what might be coming down the line. Thankfully, this article is split into a few different sections so we can break it down in proper YouTube fashion. But before I talk about them, I'm going to ask you guys to let me know in the comments down below your thoughts on all this news that I'm about to give. I'll try and give my unbiased opinion on all of this, and don't forget to like the video if you do enjoy, subscribe if you haven't already. And the first part, the least interesting part of this whole article, is talking about the current game that we have, FM23, saying how much of a success it's been. You can see it's their most played game of all time. Apparently they've got good Steam reviews. It's being picked up on consoles a lot more now, on PlayStation 5 and Xbox, which is also great to see the community growing around Football Manager. I know people now that are playing the game that never would have before. I think the introduction to consoles has really brought it to a younger generation as well, and that's great to see, particularly as part of the FM community. You want to see it expanding and getting bigger, not just stalling with the same old players that play it all the time. And to be fair to Miles here and Sports Interactive, they do definitely take into account all of the things that we've said about FM23. The general feeling around the game was that there wasn't that much progression compared to the standards and expectations that they've set over the years, and even they say they agree with it. I think they added a few extra things to FM23, but it really did feel like just a data update really compared to FM22. Some people will say it's been like that for years in Football Manager, but last year was the first year where it really felt like they didn't add too much and just spruced up a few screens. But now it starts getting juicy. They start talking about what's coming next, FM24, which they're describing as the last of its kind and the last 20 years of developing Football Manager being realised. It's the 20th game in Sports Interactive Football Manager series. It's going to be the most complete version of FM, I think they call it, at some point in this article. And whilst they don't talk too much about features that they're going to be adding into the game, we do get some nice information. And apparently everything is running way ahead of schedule. They've nearly got to the point where all the features are ready to be tested, which means they can test it way ahead of time and make sure there are no bugs. Apparently the studio of Sports Interactive as a whole is working in a much better way now, with new resources and workflows to make things flow easier in the creation of the game, which is of course what you expect. As Football Manager gets bigger and they make more money, hopefully Sports Interactive can reinvest a good chunk of that into making the new games. But they do say there is one big feature that they want to announce for FM24, which I'm going to give my thoughts on, and that is that you can transfer your save from previous games from FM23 onto FM24. Now, they say this feature is something that a lot of people have been requesting over the forums, and I don't really look at the forums all that much, but you know what? Maybe it is. I've just never heard too many people requesting it myself. I did wonder at first, how is it going to work? Like, I mean, first and foremost, I think a lot of people play the new Football Manager games to play new saves. I don't see many people playing one Football Manager and wanting to play a save from the last game. But look, it's a feature that no one has to use if they don't want to. It's a cool addition to the game, something that's great to add. And even though I'm not particularly sure how it's going to work, they do say any features and revamps from FM24 will then be featured in your FM23 save. How that will work if there's a whole new section in the game, like when they added dynamics a few years ago, I don't know, because, you know, if you have a save that's 10 years in with no dynamics and suddenly you add dynamics into the mix, how would it work? Obviously dynamics is a big example and was a huge improvement to the game when we got that added in, so it will be interesting to see how it all works. I imagine it means that there's not too many huge changes coming in FM24 if you're allowed to use an FM23 save on that game, but you know, that's all guesswork, who's to really say. But I must say it is good news for sure, even if it's not something that I'm really going to benefit from. Clearly there's people out there who want it and it's an extra feature to have, and it's just great to see Sports Interactive communicating with the fans, giving this letter, admitting to their failures, telling us what's coming next. And even if FM24 isn't the most revolutionary game that they've ever done, it sounds like FM25 might be, and that's something that's really good because now we've got something to look forward to. I'm sure FM24 will still be great, of course, but to hear FM25 is coming is awesome. Obviously we knew it would, but to hear what's going to happen is very cool to see. And they say it's the next chapter like nothing before. It sounds like the match engine is pretty much going to be completely reborn. They believe this is the biggest biggest revolution since FM09 when they added the 3D match engine. Now, what I imagine this means is maybe we're not going to get FIFA level graphics or anything like that, but they're using the Unity engine, I believe they said, and they're going to completely revamp the match engine itself. So hopefully we will see something that is a lot more graphically intensive, maybe looks a lot more like how people expect games to look. And I know some people won't be bothered about the graphics, some people are, but at this point of FM, it feels like it's got to the point where they should be improving it. So it's great to see that we will be getting a new match engine. It's awesome to look forward to in FM25, and I'm sure there's going to be loads of new features on the game as well. It sounds like this is almost a rebirth of the series, and obviously this is a long way down the line. We've still got a few months left of 23, then we've got FM24, but it's nice to know there is something coming. So at least if FM24 doesn't live up to amazing expectations, we'll know it's fine because they're working on this amazing FM25 in the background. I say amazing, we have no idea how it's going to look, but you know what? I can cross my fingers, I can hope, hopefully Project Dragonfly is going to be awesome. By the sounds of it, these are changes that they've been wanting to introduce for a few years, but because of the pandemic and different things, everything got pushed back, but now they've got to the point where they know what they're aiming for. They've now sold it to the fans in a way as well by telling us about it, so the pressure is almost on them in a way. I'm sure they'll feel the community support now that they're telling us about these things, because that's all we want to know, right? Just some information. It's nice to know that there are things coming down the line, and yes, they are using the Unity engine. That engine's used for some of the biggest games in the world, which is great, and they give some extra detail here, which I'm really excited about. Obviously, they're not going into too much just yet, because it's still a few years away, but what they say is, in simple terms, there's going to be a significantly better looking matchday experience, so the match engine is going to look better. That's going to be on the pitch and supporting stadium environments. On top of that, the user interface is going to change, so it'll be easier and better to click through screens and get around. Probably going to look less like a spreadsheet. And on top of that, another great addition, other than just a new match engine, is new technologies for new gens and manager creation. Now, manager creation, let's see what that is. I mean, maybe it's adding a few more wigs, team manager creator, I don't know. But new gens, what I'm hoping this means is what I've mentioned a few times in my wish list for Football Manager, that they're going to add some kind of AI thing where it generates a face for every single player, a face that isn't real but looks like a real face. That way we won't have all these fake faces on the new gens that just look cartoon. It will look like a real face, but they won't be a real person. There is AI development out there that can create these fake faces. Whether they lean into that, whether that's what they're saying, I don't know, but it certainly sounds promising. And like they say here, already looking really promising at these early stages. They do mention that there's going to be a bigger jump in animations as well, so they're going to be much better in not just FM25 but also FM24, where we'll start to see some of those improvements. But then they do mention that most of these graphical upgrades in models, stadiums and surrounding scenes will be introduced in FM25, and hopefully it'll be a more true to life experience is what they call it. And these things are just getting me really excited for the game. And then we have women's football, which is of course an announcement they made a few years ago. It sounds like that's going to be coming in the FM25 life cycle. How it will work, I'm not too sure. Is it going to be almost a separate side game? Is it going to be part of your normal Football Manager databases? Could you manage a women's club and then go over to manage a men's club and vice versa? Who really knows how it's going to work, but it's nice to hear that women's football is coming along. There will be some people that criticise it, of course, and say they didn't want women's football, but look, if you don't want to play it, you don't have to. It's something that should definitely be in the game, purely on a representation basis, and also why wouldn't it be? It's as much a valid management experience as it would be for men's football. They say they're going to reveal some information about FM25 in 2024, the second quarter of it, so hopefully in about a year's time we'll be hearing more about FM25, but FM24 we're supposedly getting some news very soon, so make sure you subscribe to the channel so you don't miss it. But there we go, we've broken down what's going on with Football Manager, some huge news, and I'm really excited for it. Let me know your thoughts, and thank you for watching. I'll see you next time. Goodbye.